Good evening. Welcome to the March 25th Town of Clifton Park public hearing regarding Clifton Knolls and Mill Creek Parks District. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Caitlin, would you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Bellamy.
Present.
Councilman Fantini. Councilman Manier. Councilman Reed.
Present.
Supervisor Barrett.
All right, Caitlin, could you please read the legal notice as it appeared in the Times Union?
Town of Clifton Park, County of Saratoga, State of New York. Notice of public hearing to consider proposed expenses for the Clifton Knolls Mill Creek Park District. Please take notice that the town board of the town of Clifton Park will conduct a public hearing on Wednesday, March 25th, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. in the Wood Memorial Meeting Room in the town office building located at 1 Town Hall Plaza, Clifton Park, Town of Clifton Park, County of Saratoga, State of New York, whereas the town board wishes to address proposed expenses to be paid from the Clifton Knolls Mill Creek Park District budget. Caitlin Fantini, Clifton Park Town Clerk.
Thank you.
And I apologize for my squeaky voice.
So we open this public hearing for discussion surrounding Clifton Knolls and Mill Creek Park District. Ultimately, the town acts as the commissioner for the Parks District. We are seeking engagement and welcoming input regarding how tax funds are being utilized within. This conversation can include landscaping, flowers at the entrance, playground equipment, ponds and trails, neighborhood events, and other things of that nature. Over the last couple of years, we have heard some differing opinions from a few residents with specific focus on the flowers at the various entrance signs. Some residents have gone as far as to volunteer their time and expertise to help with the selection and planting of the flowers and shrubs at various locations throughout the neighborhood. We encourage all volunteer participation in whatever form that is. We wanted to have this open public forum to allow everyone to have their say in how their Parks District dollars are being spent and to get some fresh ideas into the mix. We will then take all the ideas from all residents, as we do every year, and we will comprise a plan that's beautiful and affordable for the neighborhood. So this is an opportunity to ask questions, to provide feedback, and hopefully work together towards a consensus regarding the maintenance and upkeep of your neighborhood. So with that, if you would like to speak on the matter, please raise your hand. When you're called, please come forward, state your name and address for the record, and please do your best to keep it to 5 minutes or less. Is that my
Yeah, it automatically turns on.
Sorry.
My name is Mark Radowski. I live in Robertson Court, Clifton Park, in Clifton Knolls. And my question is about flowers. Last year, the year before, they went and dug up all the perennials. They went to annuals, which is very expensive. Why did we do that? A lot of the perennials were very pretty plants. And if you're talking about expenses and maintenance, annuals are very intense and very costly and very maintenance. And where annuals are lots of everything. And I'm just curious why we went that way. That's it.
Yes, Dan, would you like to speak on that? I believe we had some input from some neighbors regarding that.
Yeah, so when that happened, the Park District, identify yourself. I'm Dan Clemens. I'm the director of the Buildings and Grounds Department. I work with 15 different park districts throughout the town. We maintain all the town property buildings. It's not between the two white lines. Our department takes care of it. So a couple of years ago when they came out, there was interest from your park districts who wanted to simplify the gardens. They were kind of overgrown and difficult to maintain according to them. And so the idea was to shrink all of them down to much smaller and go with annuals only, get rid of the perennials. There was a lot of debate back and forth on whether or not we wanted to do that. Like our gardener that lives in your neighborhood spent a lot of time doing, she was really not in favor of it. But the park district, just the whole committee insisted over and over again, so we finally went along with them, and that's what we did. We made everything smaller, and then after we made it smaller, apparently they didn't like the way it looked, and then they wanted to make them all bigger and put the perennials back in. So that's kind of.
Size is not the problem. I mean, it's just.
Oh, no, I agree with that. Sure.
I mean, when you went from 5 or 6 perennials and some annuals to 15, 20, 30 annuals, just didn't look right.
Yeah, because they didn't get shrunk down, and they didn't get done the way that they were supposed to be, because they changed their mind as soon as they all came out. So, I agree with you 100%.
Laura Brothers, 20 Mallorca Lane, Clifton Park, New York. You indicated they and them and the Park District. Can you just elaborate? I don't know who they and them in the Park District is. That would be grateful.
I'm sorry, yeah, that's Park District Advisory Committee.
And who does that consist of?
Well, at that time, it was Marvelous McGinnis was the chairperson,
Okay,
and then there were several other people. I always just deal directly with the chairperson, but I think you had 5 or 6 members of your neighborhood that were on the committee.
okay, and you said then, do we have a Park District now? And if so, who's on that?
As far as I know, there is no committee at this point, but you still have your Park District, absolutely.
Okay, so right now, currently, there's no committee, but back then there was. Is that my understanding?
That's correct.
Okay, I just need clarification. Thank you.
Yes, and as I said, we welcome participation and input from all residents and anyone who wants to volunteer in whatever capacity. Please reach out to me or Supervisor Barrett, and we'll get you in touch with Dan, and we'll get the conversation to continue. Dan?
My name's Kim Spath. I live at 11 Madrid Court in the Knolls. So we've been watching the flowers for 17 years we've lived in here. And it used to be a beautiful neighborhood. And then suddenly all our perennials disappeared and we had dirt and weeds. So a few of us got involved and said, what's going on? What's happening? Park District can't be found, can't be located, can't find a meeting. I thought we were just kind of out of the realm. So we reached out to the town, got some good feedback, but unfortunately we still have this Parks District people to deal with. And we deserve better. We pay our money. Last year we had this whole ridiculous thing with these mums and trying to put new plants on top of old plant. You know, it didn't work. And we're just asking that, you know, we get a new Parks District with people who are going to be in it for the long haul and listen to the neighbors. We need a better playground at Locust Lane. I know the town is already working on that to help replace things that were taken away because of safety issues, but not cared enough about, in my opinion, by the previous Parks District to do anything about it. And I think everybody in this room is showing you that we care, we're engaged, and we want something. What I think, and my suggestion for the record, we need to plant some perennials in every bed, ones that fit the neighborhood in that bed. Some are sunny, some are shady, bunnies, deer, car traffic, something in each one. We should have a small budget in the spring and in the fall for some colorful annuals that will then make all of those different places feel similar. So everything gets pink one year, everything gets red, something. But a thoughtful, well thought out process and a way for the neighbors to reach the Parks District if they notice that there are issues or things that they wish that we had. You know, we've asked and entertained the idea of the little poop things on the walking trail so that people don't, you know, I mean, listen, we responsible dog owners, we pick up after it, but we also don't really want to carry that around for 4 miles or I don't know, 12 in your case, right? Yes. So we're just looking, we want to help, we want to be part of the solution, and we'd like there to, before we make another plan, to have a cohesive idea. So that's really all I'm asking, is that we just get together as a neighborhood, give us what we're already paying for, and do it in a thoughtful and cohesive way without spending $30,000, because none of us want that. So.
Do you have a place where you used to meet?
I have never been on the Parks District. We used to look for meetings so that we could go and ask them what was going on, but we've never seen a meeting of that district. I've never been on the Parks Committee. We're certainly, I know there's several people in this room who are more than willing to do that. I've put in the effort. I had my landscaper come and we drove around for several hours a couple of years ago, and he told me what we should plant in every place. And I did that on my time, on my money, because I want my neighborhood to look as beautiful as it did when I moved in. And right now, I think it looks a little abandoned. You know, there's a lot of weeds, a lot of dirt, a lot of leftover political signs. I just, you know.
I noticed that yesterday and I'll go over tonight. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry for yours.
Not mine, but I noticed them.
Yeah, well, thank you for what you've done to help, and you shouldn't be doing it on your own dime. You know, you guys have a budget to spend on these things. Let's see, what did we spend on flowers last year?
About $8,000.
$8,200 for landscaping, another $9,000 for maintenance. Yeah.
But the
And,
8,200 that we spent on flowers was not adequately used because of the restrictions that the other Parks District had, which was we can't touch the mums.
Mhm.
The mums were thrown in there, helter skelter. I mean, that's what you do, right? In the fall, you just fill your beds with mums. You got that beautiful color and everything looks great.
in the
They're
fall.
not really in the fall, but they're not really, if you were going to use them as a perennial, there should have been more thought about it. And then when we did the $8,000 and we had really big hopes last year, it didn't really go anywhere because we had too many restrictions. We couldn't do a nice bed. We couldn't do the right thing because we had all this junk that was kind of mucking up the works. And unfortunately, there were some other, you know, the heat and the other things kind of didn't make all the flowers live. But again, I think there were decisions that were made by people who are not in this room that weren't for the best of the neighborhood. And selfish, I don't know what they were. I don't know. But we've been fighting for a while with that, and I think maybe it's just time that we stop. So even stocking the fish. How many years ago were we begging for? We had neighbors who were trying to collect cans and bottles to stock the fish because they didn't realize that we had a Parks District who should have been listening, and they weren't. So that's all I think. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I mean, you have a healthy budget. There's no reason that we can't come up with a way to make the bed look good year round. A mixture of annuals and perennials is what most people do, and certain locations, more sun, more shade, finding the appropriate flowers rather than just doing a blanket across the entire neighborhood certainly makes sense. So we definitely understand that, and we'll address that. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Emily Gould. I live at 2 Laurel Oak Lane in the Knolls. And I just want to start out by saying I'm glad to hear you mention the gardener, because I've seen her working hard throughout the last years I've lived here. And I want to say that I think she does a wonderful job with what she's able to do. It sounds as though she was restricted by other people's choices, but she is very hardworking, very invested in the community. And I think that ought to go on the record. And the other thing is, you talked about the budget, but I've never seen a budget, so I don't know what we actually have contributed from the Park District to a budget and what that's read through. So is there some way for us to get copies or to be shown where that budget is located so that we can understand better the amount of money that we're talking about? I mean, you mentioned $8,000 and $9,000 for maintenance, but what is involved in terms of the pool and the playgrounds, and are the trails part of the maintenance element? Benches, I've noticed in some of the other locations that there are benches that are actually sponsored by people who want to create a commemorative bench. Do we have that option here? All of those things seem to be, the money side of this seems to be very murky, and I'd like to be able to find out more about that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Mark, our comptroller, could you speak to the budget for us, please?
Yes, so the end of 2025, the available amount of cash that the Park District had was just over $84,000. The annual budget that was created in November of last year, that was passed last year, has a tax levy of $82,192. And that's allocated based on all of the residents there. The budget does not take any money from 2025 to balance it. So the overall budget is $82,757. We have the difference in there is that one of Dan Clemens' employees works in the summer at the Knolls, and there's an allocation of workers' comp that is put into your park district. So that's the difference of it. So, but it's paid. That one is actually paid on your county and town tax bill. There's a revenue and expenditure offset on both of those. So you have $82,192 plus the $84,000, so that's $166,471. The key things there's $38,000 right now in the budget for general maintenance, and that would be all the flowers, all the landscaping that is done throughout the year. And right now, the employee, there's an allocation of $35,000 that would be paid during the year, plus his Social Security and Medicare. So,
Mark, just to follow up on the question, she asked also about pools and the golf course. Are they expenses associated with those items? Are they included in the park budget?
they are not included in the park district. So the Barney Road pool and the Barney Road golf course is 100% funded through general fund revenues. So any expenditure that goes towards those, and trails are also funded by the general fund.
And Mark, how would a resident get information on this budget? To contact your office?
Yes, you can do that. The budget is, the entire town budget is in the town clerk's office. They can get a copy from the town clerk too.
Thank you.
And we do one more thing. We have been sending out, we do send out quarterly reports to the advisory committee, and that happens for all the park districts. My assistant does that. So.
Yeah, so I'll just, once again, the reason that we're here doing this is to gather input from everyone. There should be no unilateral decisions with how your tax dollars are being spent in your neighborhood. So we will work with buildings and grounds, reviewing last year's plans and taking into consideration all the input from this evening, and we will come up with a new plan for this year. When a plan is put together per the town policy, it goes out to bid. We are compelled to accept the lowest reputable bidder, as we do with all components in the town. So just keep that in mind. You know, we're trying to be diligent with your money. Yes, ma'am. First, you're next. Please.
Ann Connolly, 12 Independence Lane, Clifton Park, New York. I'm a 23-year Clifton Park resident. I do Clifton Park Neighbors, and I do the Clifton Park Mill Creek Neighborhood Action Committee. Kim Spath and I put signs up, so everybody who showed up here, thank you very much, neighbors. We really appreciate the support. To start off with, the previous park district decided to pull all the perennials out, and they were beautiful. We were not thrilled with it. She wanted to go with perennial mums. Now, perennial mums are nice, but you only have flowers late in the season, and they require a lot of maintenance. Building and Grounds does not have the time to be messing with perennial mums. So what we did is last summer, I volunteered to work with the lowest bidder in the park district to plant perennials, okay? And I gotta say, working with Dan Clemens and Building and Grounds, they were fantastic. I was part of the crew. I loved it. Everyone was so kind. It was like, I need more mulch, boys. And they were there with the mulch. And of course, we learned about issues with bunnies. We learned about some locations they just don't grow, no matter what you put in there. So Dan and I talked about maybe having pavers and a nice decoration there instead, so everyone would be happy. So one of the reasons why I volunteered and I worked with Dirt and Decor, who was playing with us, okay, was that we were talking to Supervisor Barrett about upgrading playground equipment in Locust Lane. There's many young families in Clifton, Knolls, Mill Creek, and it should go for everybody. So I believe it's in the works where we're trying to get, instead of spending all the money just on flowers, let's try to get some money spent on upgrading equipment for older children. We have some autistic children in the Knolls. We'd like to one day think of doing something nice for them. So maybe spend a little money on that. If, a resident here is thinking about, well, I'd like to have the trails nicer or something other than that, let it be known. We'll take suggestions. We'll try to work on it. The Clifton Knolls Mill Creek Neighborhood Action Committee, we're trying to make the Knolls a little bit of something for everybody, and make sure, with that kind of budget, that's unreal. That is a fantastic budget, and what you could do with it is unbelievable. And how many perennial flowers you could buy for nowhere near that money is unreal. We do have a lot of bunny rabbits in there. We know how to deal with that now, with the issue. We learned a lot. 4 inches of mulch keeps the weeds down. Certain flowers, like I said, some areas it's got to be shady. Some areas it's got to be sunny. You just can't plant mums everywhere and think they're going to grow, because it just doesn't work that way. So tonight, I thank you for having this public hearing. We're hoping that we can all come together and do something for everybody in the Knolls. And as far as volunteering, Dan is great to work with. And anyone who wants to volunteer, I strongly suggest it, because his crew was very kind to me. They were very supportive. Anything I asked, they were right there. And I loved it, and I enjoyed planting flowers. I enjoyed working with the landscaper, because again, you have to take the lowest bid. And by having volunteers and not spending a fortune on all the 12 locations in Clifton, Knolls, Mill Creek, we save money. So we could do other things. How about Halloween parades for seniors? How about Halloween parades for the kids? You used to do that. Seniors, come on. How about, the Barney Road Christmas tree? We could have a lighting ceremony or something. Different things and activities we'd be glad to do for our neighbors. This is your home. You want it nice. You want to be proud. When you go in the entrance, you want the entrances to be nice and cared for. And we could do that with the budget. By the way, in January, when you get your county bill, you'll see the Park District. I think it was just under $76 for my share. So everybody probably pays right around there. So we're all chipping in to have it nice. What we want to try to do is have everybody have the opportunity to say, gee, I would like this, or I would like that. And thank you for proposing the public hearing, Councilwoman Reed, and being here tonight for us to hear the neighbors and what we want to do and what we want to say, because we can all work together and make it a great place. And I took my 5 minutes.
You did perfect. Thank you for all your volunteer efforts and helping with the flowers, and I couldn't agree more. We have a wonderful crew with Buildings and Grounds. So again, anyone who's interested in volunteering and helping out, that'd be great. So, ma'am.
I will take 5 minutes. I just have a couple of things to say.
Sure.
My name is Bev Rubé. I live at 1 Barcelona Drive in Clifton Park in the Knolls. I love gardening. I'm obsessive about it. How can I be on the advisory board? Number 2, my son wanted me to talk about he says the swamp that we have in the neighborhood. Apparently it's smelly, so he's a teenager and he likes to go there with his friends. My younger one likes to go fishing, and apparently it doesn't smell so good. So is that something that the budget can take care of? And I am interested, along with, I know a number of people, including Kim, who might want to, once or twice in the season, we all go out, grab bags, grab garbage, whatever, work with your team and help clean up, because it's not, I like a beautiful neighborhood. I love plants, and I sometimes see my neighbors, and sometimes some people need help, nobody asked, but would there be some committee of some kind that comes together and determines, just like you said, plants, perennials, whatever. I'm pretty good at gardening. I'm not a master gardener, but I'm pretty good. And I'm offering help to anybody who has interest in helping to clean up their neighborhood, anybody who's a senior citizen. I'm happy to do that as well. But the swamp thing, can you do anything?
Yeah, that's definitely something that we can look into and look into including. Just give everyone else a chance to speak first. Sir, then you're next.
Hi, my name's Tim Leonard. I live at 6 Emerald Terrace, which is a little street that was put in down between St. Edward's Church and Mill Road. Prior to that, I lived since 1977 in Clifton, Knolls. The issue I have is that when we moved into our neighborhood, the developer said they were going to put an entrance sign there, and we were made part of your park district, and we pay the taxes and that. And right now, we feel like we're paying the taxes, our share of that, but we're not getting any benefit. What I really need is to find out who in the town I can speak to on that. When I looked into it last year, I was told that the green area, as you come our street to the left, is really a large water retention basin with trees and that, but it comes up pretty high, and it would be, to us, the people on our street, a great place to put an entrance sign. And we were told that because it's a water retention, that's not allowed. I found out in Dutch Meadows, they had a similar situation, and they were granted an exemption and got their entrance sign. So, we just don't know where to turn. The people on our street, we expressed interest in even paying to build, the little marker ourselves, and then have the town take care of flowers in front of it. But we just feel like right now we're a forgotten little street that are paying our taxes and not getting any benefit.
Yeah, well, again, you're already paying for it because you're paying into the Parks District.
Okay.
So, yeah. What street did you say that was?
It's called Emerald Terrace.
Emerald Terrace. Dan, are you familiar with that area?
Yes.
Okay, so we can discuss the possibility of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the subdivision, when they put it in, was called Diamond Point. Although there's not a person around to even tell you where Diamond Point is because there's no sign and nobody, refers to it. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounded familiar.
But we're not looking for a big sign, just something small to
Are you
identify.
talking about on Hubbs Road where Heidi Path
No.
comes in by the retention pond?
That's the one that Dutch Meadows did.
Yeah, is that what you're talking about?
That's what I was told, that they had a similar situation, and the town allowed them to do it. So we would just like the same
That's lovely
courtesy.
there. They have a bench and so forth.
Yeah, we can look into that. Thank
Okay,
you.
appreciate it.
Ma'am.
Hi, Darnell Warbaugh, 6 Elm area. I've lived in the Knolls for 47 years. I wanted to say 3 quick comments. One is years ago we did have a once a year printed park letter that told what they had done, what they were planning on, and what the budget was. And that was really nice. But then when we stopped all the homeowner association stuff and everything, that disappeared too. But something like that on the website might be helpful. Maybe even for each park district, which would be a little more work for whoever's writing it up, but would be very helpful for all of us. The other thing is, I wanted to say that while we are cleaning things up and the swamp area, etc., is I don't want us to clean up a whole lot of the natural habitat. We have already done that, like on the east side of Murphy Pond, and then we have wild on the west side. And I'd like us to leave those wild areas for the habitat, for animals and things. That's something most of us really enjoy, is watching the ducklings and the animals, although we get a little tired of the gooslings. You know, that kind of stuff is fun. So we need to leave some of the wild areas and not clean up everything. So that's the other comment I wanted to make. And then the third comment was that we also need some kind of, we don't need to spend all of the money. We need to have some kind of surplus, some kind of buffer. We are not going into climate change. We are in climate change. Our storms are getting worse. They're more frequent. They're more severe. I currently have my neighbor's tree down in my backyard. It missed the house. Only took out a birdhouse. But we're going to get a lot of that, and we're going to have cleanup in the park. You know, we have the waterways. We're going to get floods. We're going to get occasional drunk teenagers that vandalize stuff, unfortunately. That hasn't been happening as much now as it used to happen, which is really good. But we need a little buffer zone in the budget to clean up things that were unexpected. So I want to remind people not to spend down all the money, but to leave a little pocket for when we do have something that's unexpected. So those were my comments.
Thank you. Yes, we also want to, as you said, leave some money behind, because when you have a larger project, for example, wanting some new playground equipment, so it's important to be prudent and plan for the future that way. Sir?
Joe Roman, 33 Broadleaf Drive. A couple of things. One was I want to commend the Park District, because we moved in 2016. The pond was absolutely a nightmare. It was covered with pond scum and weeds. Since then, it looks beautiful. It's very clean. They have that weed eater that goes around. If you're not familiar, it's a big yellow bulldozer, I guess you can call it, that goes in the pond and cleans up. That's kind of nice. We have a couple of dogs at our house, and we walk them all the time around the pond. We're constantly picking up liquor bottles, beer cans, and there's only one trash receptacle. It's by the dock. It would be nice if there was maybe one on the opposite side by the causeway or by the little peninsula that goes out there, whatever you want to call that. That would be nice. And I second the idea of dog waste receptacles along the trails, if that's a possibility. The last thing I want to say is I'm concerned with the amount of e-bikes and four-wheelers and dirt bikes that are on the trails around the pond. I don't know if there's a town code or law that prevents that or prohibits that. It would be nice if that was safe. I'm worried that someday someone's gonna be walking a dog or walking a kid or something, they're gonna be hit by a dirt bike or a e-bike. Thank you.
Where were you last week? We just had a public forum talking about e-bikes, and we'd love to have you. I'd love to have you join us there, and that is an ongoing complaint that we've been hearing, and so that's why we've had multiple public hearings and forums discussing the e-bikes, because they're growing in popularity. People are seeing them more often, and not always where they should be or ridden by who they're supposed to. So
it goes beyond e-bikes, so it's also gasoline-powered four-wheelers and dirt bikes.
Yeah.
Cruise on the pond.
Yeah, I don't think those have any place being there. And I recently learned from our public hearings that there are different classes of e-bike. Class 3, I believe, isn't legal here at all, ridden anywhere by anyone. Those are only allowed in cities with a population over 1 million, if I'm correct. So only in New York City. But unfortunately, people are getting their hands on them, and we have no control over what people are buying. And they're also not meant to be operated by people under the age of 16, which is another issue that we're seeing. But yeah, we can't control what people are buying for their kids, unfortunately, whether it's legal or not. It's an ongoing problem, but we definitely, you know, as I said, we've heard complaints, we've opened the dialogue, and we've had two public hearings to date, maybe more incoming. Did you want to speak again?
I can remember that.
Thank you. Sorry.
Ready to say my name again?
No.
No? You're good. Okay, good. First, I do want to commend Mr. Clemens and his employees as well, especially the woman who likes to use water. Oh, sorry. I've never been told I've been quiet before. I see her out watering, and she does a wonderful job, and she's so hardworking along with your employees. So I think I can speak from everybody again that it's definitely appreciated. And I know that Kim touched base on the Locust Lane, the playground equipment that was removed because of the safety. And then I know Kim and I worked last year, was it Kim? And with Mr. Barrett in getting more equipment, more playground equipment. And has that been received, the equipment? And do you have a timeline of when? Just because it was such a beautiful, I mean, I know it was a safety concern, but it was so beautiful. And there was some equipment there for the older children. So I was just wondering what the status was on that.
Dan Clemens has an update on that. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah,
Thank
so the equipment has arrived. It came in after the ground froze, so our contractor has it in his possession. And now that the weather looks like it might be turning, I'm not going to look for that. I'm going to reach out to him and see what we have an official date where he's going to come. We'll have to meet out there and locate exactly where we want to place it. But the equipment is here, and it should be up here in the next month or so. It's a spring assembly here.
Thank you.
Well,
Sir?
I'm just hanging out over here. So, oh, did you want to speak?
No.
Oh, okay. No, I just wanted to say that thank you for Councilman Reed for having this forum here tonight. Sorry I was a few minutes late coming from county meetings. I'm glad I showed up though, because otherwise we wouldn't have had a quorum. But I've been here 27 years now, and over the years, there's differing levels of participation, whether it's a civic association or the park district committee as it was. And that's true of all neighborhoods. You know, we have people that are very engaged and they get things started, and then over time people move or don't have time to be involved anymore, and sometimes those organizations begin to peter out a little bit. So believe me, we appreciate the interaction, the involvement, and the leadership that's been demonstrated by people in the neighborhood. And it's great to see such a wonderful turnout tonight, because it's important that you are involved. I think in recent years, as opposed to most of my time here in office, there's been a lot of differing opinions and back and forth. It would be very good to have a general consensus from people that are interested, that live in the neighborhood, as to what you'd like to see, whether it's the plantings, the new equipment that's coming in here in the spring. And I want to thank everybody that reached out to me about that. And that worked out great. Or any of the items that have come up tonight. You know, having a consensus and a unified effort is much more efficient and certainly easier for us. The town board serves as the commissioners of all the park districts, but we do like to see volunteerism from the neighborhoods to help us make decisions. Because you live there, you're there every day, we're not. So having that kind of input through the years, and hopefully more in the future, will be very helpful. I did want to ask you, you mentioned a swamp. Which area is that? Oh, the ponds themselves? Oh, those are ponds, they're not swamps. Well, you know, we can, Dan and his crew, they can regulate the level of those ponds, and we do regulate them actively based on precipitation, time of year, melting, you know, in the spring and in the fall. Typically, we will lower the ponds a little bit. I remember years ago, there were some folks, I don't know if any of them are here tonight, that contacted me. I'm probably going back at least 10 years. that they were noticing some water in their basement. And as me and others started to investigate it, we thought it might be the level of the ponds that were causing it. We lowered the ponds. I went back to those folks and they said, yeah, it's good now. So the level of those ponds can play a role in various things. We try to keep enough for irrigation in the summertime. We never want them to get too low, but we do try to keep an equilibrium. And we installed a new apparatus there years ago to make it a lot easier to do that. But we try to keep them as nice as possible. The gentleman mentioned the We Do that Ann and some others had come to us about years ago. So, so when there are needs, we are reactive. We are as proactive as possible. But again, we don't live there every day. You do, you see it. And it's important to have that information. And any information as far as money and what's being spent and the budget, it is online. Any of the town budget itself, any of the entities of the town, all online, so you can find it. If you can't find it, or you don't use a computer, call my office. We'll get it. We'll send it to you. Not everybody uses a computer. I understand that. So, you know, all that information is public and available. So please keep that in mind as well. And we'll keep everybody updated on the timeline for installation of the playground equipment. Thank you.
You must have been, thank you, Supervisor Barrett. You must have been referring to the boat bulldozer. I think my toddler would love to.
Yeah.
Get you next, sir. I think you had your hand up.
Sorry. No. Hello, my name is James Gurley. I live on Greenlee in the Knolls at the corner of Kalina. Love living in the neighborhood. Just a couple of concerns I'd love to bring to the fore here. While maybe not explicitly related to the garden or parks, but the speed limit to me seems to be a big issue. Not quite sure why 30 miles an hour makes sense in that neighborhood. I've got a couple of young kids. There's many children in the neighborhood. So if the speed limit is 30, people typically are going to do 35. I see, you know, 5-lane highways on, you know, on 146 that are at the same speed. So it seems to me like 20 would be a more appropriate speed limit for our neighborhood. I don't see why people need to go so fast, especially on Greenland, which is sort of a through point or a road that people, you know, take from A to B. So again, I'm not sure if that's something you considered or is on an agenda, but to me, 2025, I think 20 would be a great number to consider. To me, that's probably the biggest concern. Do you guys have any comment on that? Is that something that's under consideration or what we
We bring it up at the Highway Safety Committee.
Nancy, whether you should like.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just so everyone can hear you.
We could bring it up at the Highway Safety Committee.
That sounds terrific. Yeah. I think, again, I think it would just slow down a little bit, right? The whole idea of enjoying our neighborhood and the parks and pools and the lakes and everything else. I don't know why we're in such a rush. Yeah, speed bumps, changing the speed limit, etc. Another thing I wanted to mention, so between the two ponds out near the peninsula, somebody had to mention, take my dog for walks all the time. I noticed a camera in the tree. It was just kind of unnerving. And I walk by and I see like a flashlight come on. It seemed as though somebody, like a private citizen, went and decided to install an Arlo camera in the park. And I wonder I think it's gone now. At a certain point, I got sort of fed up with it and tried to take it down, but I can't imagine why. I can't imagine why Clifton Park would want to be, you know, surveilling its own citizens. And is there a rule like can somebody just put a camera in a tree? And if so, like what's the protocol on that? And again, I think it's gone now, but it was just kind of Orwellian to me. I just didn't understand why there's a camera in a tree. As you walk by at night, the flashlight would come on the camera. These things are so cheap now. You know, somebody gets $20 at Best Buy and just start, you know, papering in the neighborhood. So
yeah, and you're saying this is on public property?
Yeah, it was literally on that peninsula area that somebody mentioned in the tree. Again, I think it's gone now, but for months and months it was just sort of a thorn in my side. So just something I wanted to sort of bring to mention is, having kids, come out of their bikes, and stuff, who's watching, why are they watching, where's it being stored, what are we doing with the video? It just seems just odd to me.
That's not ours, Dan. Is
I
it?
didn't think so, because I actually looked at it. It looked like somebody, had taken a Dremel and put their initials on it. It didn't say CP, it was something else. And so it felt
It
like it
actually
was,
belongs to the Park District.
it was.
With the Knolls, Mill Creek Park District.
Oh, that's the reason why. If you had a camera, why not post it and say, listen, we're videotaping folks, and it wasn't live.
Past advisory committee paid for that, and they wanted to watch the holiday tree. People were cutting the wires to the holiday tree.
Oh.
So that camera shows about 2 feet of the bottom of the tree.
Okay.
And that's it. And it is down now because the lights are down. So
Okay, well, that makes sense. I just couldn't quite figure it out, and I was confused by his preference, so just kind of see that.
I've never seen anyone cut any wires at all on it.
Yeah. Just a couple other quick points. I think like the connective tissue of the neighborhood, like the social fabric, we live in a world now where technology just kind of sort of pushes people apart. You have next door on Facebook and everything else, but what about a block party? I went to a bunch of flea markets when I first moved to the neighborhood, and I heard a lot of people talking about, oh man, this place was the greatest neighborhood in the 80s. We had golf carts, we had a pool, we had these social events, the fireplaces that put in were raging and roaring, and it was just all this event. So is there any reason why we wouldn't try to put together, a block party to start, so people get to know one another? Like, I know all of the folks that live within the vicinity of my, home, 5, 10 houses around, and, we help each other out, help each other's driveways, etc. Go on vacation, keep an eye out for stuff. But I feel like there's a lack of, again, just this social connected tissue within the neighborhood, and I think that'd be sort of a welcome addition. And again, maybe leverage the pools, the golf course, whatever these social places. I thought about putting one on just in my one little neighborhood, my one little block, but it's kind of exclusive, not inclusive. I think something maybe larger, using the structures of the pools or something else to just if you know somebody's name and you see them, just the idea that you drive by or walk by somebody that people wave. I grew up in a town where everybody just sort of waving one another, and it's a subtle, simple gesture, but I think it means a lot. So just acknowledge one another and know each other's names. It's a simple.
That's what it would be.
Do we have anything like that, a block party?
Yeah, there are a number of park districts, maybe not every year, but periodically do have block parties. So that's something that you can coordinate. All we ask is if you decide to block off a road, that you let the town know and get approval for that. Because there are cases where they'll block off a road and then they'll have the party on the road. We just need to know.
My vision is not to have it in front of my house. I'm cool with that. That would be great, because I don't have to go that far. But I think, so we have a big 4th of July celebration. Why not, leverage that and have the event that day at Barney Road Pool, so you bring in more people and sort of have a larger event.
Well, the pool's open on July 4th.
I'm aware.
But as far as a block party, if you wanted to block off a section of a street,
well, let me rephrase it.
You could do that.
I think if it's something a bit more expansive and inclusive, I think would be welcome. So
we used to do that. It's just that we ran out of volunteers to organize it.
So perhaps
So if you want to organize it, great.
Yeah, for years we had it, Clifton Knolls Civic Association.
Right.
They did St. Patrick's Day parties, spring parties, fall parties.
Yeah, I'd be happy to spearhead that effort. Yeah. And I don't want to take up too much time. The last thing I'll mention, the lakes. I think they're wonderful. I see people ice skating there in the winters. I see people fishing off the docks. What about boats? I don't think I've ever seen a boat on the lake. Is there a rule against canoeing or boating on any of those bodies of water? And if not, why not have a boat launch that welcomes folks to do that? That invites them to bring their canoes or their rowboats. And where would one sort of launch that?
Do it right alongside the dock.
Okay, but I guess, if you're not an avid boater and you don't know, maybe you're not aware. I'm thinking of something maybe a little more inviting, like a cement ramp or a sign that says, "Hey, folks, let's use this water."
A ramp would be good. It would be muddy.
Yeah, right.
But you do also have to watch out for people bringing in weed particles and contaminating the lake, which is a huge problem.
Invasive, right? Fair point. So I don't know how you manage that. I hadn't considered it. Yeah.
Another problem with the ramp would be reliability of some kids walking down it and hitting the water.
But how does any other boat ramp in any other community exist in Drive?
They usually have them at lakes where they could have something like that, or they can have
Yeah.
small ponds.
Okay, that's fair point. Again, I don't want to take up too much time. Thank you.
Thank you. A lot of great ideas, and thank you for your willingness to
Yeah, no,
get
absolutely.
your community gatherings and.
Yeah, do we, one last question, what is the mechanism by which we sort of stay connected? I mean, is there a Facebook group or something, or is there like?
Yes,
is
there
it
We've been trying really hard to bring the Civic Association back. We've had meetings, we have an email address. Go look at any of the signs that are currently out about this meeting, and you'll see our email at the bottom. We really want to do more. We lost it during COVID. We had a lot of fun before that, and we want to bring it back. So email me, it'll be me.
Okay.
I'm Kimberly, and Sarah's on our committee. Laura's on our committee. We really want to do more. So we want to bring it back to what it was when we got here.
Fantastic, I share.
I'll be waiting for your emails. If anybody else wants to know, share the email out, because we really want to do the block parties and the fun things and the wine and cheese and the Halloween parade. And we're ready to
Fantastic.
invite
Solutions I'd love to share with you, but I won't take anybody else's time.
I love
definitely have some solutions.
Love this. I hope I get an invite. You want to email? Put the email on the record? What's your email?
I don't remember. There's many emails.
I'll post it, yeah, I'll post it.
And it'll post on the Clifton Park Neighbors page, and it will also post on the Clifton Park Mill Creek Action Committee page, and the Clifton Knolls Mill Creek Civic Association page.
Okay, perfect. I think we also have Park District contacts in our town directory, so we can also get that updated.
We don't have them right now.
We don't.
No.
So just for the record, it's ckmccassociation@gmail.com.
One more time, please.
ckmccassociation@gmail.com.
And again, that email is posted on a small yard sign that's located at every entrance of the neighborhood. I think it,
For now.
yeah. There was a QR code there too, right? On your sign? A QR code?
Do we have, okay, sure.
And,
I don't remember a QR code, but we will be putting up Civic Association signs with a QR code. As soon as I'm done with this, we'll move on to the next one. So you'll see new signs soon with a QR code to reach us.
yeah, and then we'll work on getting that email address added to the town directory for this Parks District.
Awesome.
Sir?
Hi, Spencer Willers, 5 Cheviot Court. Just a few questions. One is, when there's a budget and a certain portion is unspent, does it flow from one year to the next?
It does. It does.
So it can accumulate to fund a larger project?
And that's typically what happens.
Interesting.
Is that over time, especially in park districts, because when you go to do an expenditure of a large scale, it could be anywhere from a small park play thing could be 10 grand, but you could also be spending $250,000. The last time that the Clifton Knolls Park District borrowed money was in the late 1990s, and that's when they did some of the different parks, different play structures back then. I believe that was $250,000 that the Park District had borrowed. And so,
So it was amortized over a period of a number of years?
in that case there, it was,
Spent.
you know, it was paid off basically within 5 years. So, the, you know, you do that in that way, but the park districts have accumulated money over time to pay for those projects. Now, so the smaller park equipment that was purchased in 2024, that was all paid with cash. Okay, and so, and this right here is going to, the stuff that's going to be put in later this year is also going to be paid by cash through your balance that you have right now. Okay.
And the fiscal year starts when?
It's a December 31, January 1st to December 31st, yes.
The other question I had was and that wasn't, thank you for, the other question I had is you said that the Clifton Knolls Park Committee, specifically Clifton Knolls, dissolved a few years ago. Is there plans to reconstitute it, and how would it go about occurring?
Let me answer that from a legal perspective. As Supervisor Barrett stated earlier, the town board has the ultimate responsibility as park commissioners of all the park districts. Dan, how many park districts do we have? 15? So I guess you could say conservatively 14 out of 15 are operating adequately. The Clifton Knolls Mill Creek Park District seems to be adrift. And that is why this meeting is taking place tonight. And as Phil said, it is the town board's preference that the affairs in the park district are run by the residents. And it's important to reconstitute that committee. So part of the reason that this hearing is being held, and Phil, can you remember in your time here at the town, has there ever been a meeting quite like this of just information for a park district?
We've had a lot of meetings like this.
All right, well,
a lot of meetings for various reasons, but yeah.
But in this particular case, I think the town board is looking for some new blood, and yes, the town board would like to have the committee reconstituted with some. Thank you. With some fresh blood. So that's part of the reason that Councilman Reed has spearheaded the notion of getting together tonight as a community to talk about this. So if there are people that want to volunteer and get more involved, I think the town board would love to hear from you.
And I just want to add, you know, basically, historically with the park districts, a park district committee is basically a loosely formed group of volunteers. And they, as I said before, you know, the level of engagement changes over time in all of the park districts. Sometimes it's very active, sometimes it isn't. For many years, there was a large group of park district volunteers that would meet on a monthly basis. And then I always knew when they had their meeting, because the day after, I get everything that they're recommending for the neighborhood. So, so they, and I don't remember, I remember going to some of those meetings. There might have been 10, 12 people at the meetings. But they would meet regularly, and they would also try to recruit new people all the time. So the number might grow or might shrink a little bit depending on who decided to get involved. But they were very involved, very, you know, they had monthly meetings. They were very regimented as far as that goes. And then they would report back to me what they wanted to do based on their meeting and their voting and speaking to their neighbors and everything else. So that's been the history for most of my time, 27 years here at the town, with this park district. If we could get back to that or something similar, I think it would be great for the neighborhood. Sounds like it's really starting here and with some leadership. Absent that, typically what we do is put together the best plan we can and move forward. We're in the neighborhood a lot, working on many different things: golf course, pool, park district property, ponds, whatever it might be. So we will see things that need to be fixed or need to be maintained a little better, and we're proactive about it. But having a group like that that's getting together and sharing ideas and reporting different things that they're all seeing in the neighborhood as one unit, unified, as I mentioned earlier, is very helpful to us, and I think very helpful to the neighborhood.
Does anybody from buildings and grounds attend these meetings to help guide really what's most feasible?
I've never been invited to any park district meetings or been to one myself. No, usually afterwards, then the same thing as supervisor. I get emails also. We work together to do the projects that the park district wants to do. The woman with the white hair works for you has done a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
Oh, Kathy?
Yeah. Kathy?
Yeah. She's
just phenomenal.
She does a nice job. She has a lot of garden she's already doing, so we'll see. She's really spread so far. Trying to get her to work 20 hours a day, she just won't do it.
And to that same end, the part of the interest is I walked through these neighborhoods for years, and the having the perennials mixed with the annuals, that there's always something flowering. So when the perennials were removed, part of it is not just color but heightened interest. It was very sad to see that, very disheartening.
That's ideal. You want that combination.
You want that combination. So I was very, so I hope, I know it takes years, but it can be constant. Part of the reason why I was asking for the budget, because I assume that to have good quality perennials put in tends to be more costly, so it would have to be phased in certain areas over a period of time. So that's.
Do neighbors that are dividing up their perennials have a place where they could bring them and?
I'm the wrong person to ask. There's a fella down there that might have a better idea.
Some people have like a share, and some people bring these. And
I appreciate it. I have a round thumb. So, thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir?
Hello, my name is Rob Osterhout, 31 El Lobo Court in the Knolls, and I've been in the Knolls about as long as Supervisor Barrett's been our town supervisor, and I really appreciate all the work that Mr. Clemens' team does in our neighborhood. My wife and I walk our dogs very regularly throughout, and we've gotten to know some of the staff by making our rounds every day with the dogs. Thank you very much for having this forum tonight, for us to share ideas and for us to talk about hopefully what is the beginning of a new chapter for our neighborhood. Really appreciate the signs that were put out. That was super helpful, so thank you. I've got a couple of things I just wanted to touch on real quick to get some context here. Mr. Cummins, I was taking some notes, so I might have missed it. I heard you say Barney Road and the trails, those are part of the town general fund. Is Locust Lane pool and grounds generally part of that as well? Or?
Yeah, the pools are all part of the general fund.
The pools are,
All
okay.
of them, yeah.
Okay, and then the trails that are along some of the ponds that we're talking about.
Some trails are general fund and some trails are in there, but like Mark said, they're all covered.
Okay, all right, that was Mark, I'm sorry. So, okay, with that being said, there was some talk about the swamp.
They come wetlands.
There's one pond in particular that I have concerns about. I don't necessarily think it's part of our park district. I think it's more of a town-wide issue. And it's basically the first pond in the series of ponds. So it's the pond along Par del Rio, just past Madrid as you're entering the neighborhood and running down Par del Rio. The pond on the right-hand side. That is the first pond in the series of ponds, and it kind of acts as a sediment basin for the rest of the ponds. When my kids were younger, we would go fishing over in that pond, and there were nice bass in there, and it was great. You walk along the trails now, and that pond has so much sediment in it. That's why I think it's being referred to as a swamp, because it's really kind of stagnant, nasty water right now. There's no fish in there. If there are, they're very, few and they're very small. So long-term planning, not necessarily, for this year or anything like that, but long-term planning, I think if it's a town-wide issue, there should be some consideration for dredging out some of that sediment out of that pond. And, that habitat in that pond is it's taken a hit over the 27 years that I've been in the neighborhood. And it's constantly, the bigger storms that we're getting, we're seeing, I have a stream that runs past our house and goes back to that pond. And, in larger storm events, that water is just very brown. It's silt laden, it's washing down, and you can see it where the water crosses Mill Road, right behind Spirit Park at the intersection of Clifton Park Center Road. You can see the silt running down through there, and then runs down to that first pond. It settles out, and then just it kills everything. So long term, I'd like to see some type of consideration for improvements to that. And then along those same lines, that pond, because of that sediment in there, it does have an odor to it. So I can see why the kids are calling it the swamp. And it's something that does need some attention. But along those lines, I've got some other ideas for the neighborhood that I'd like to share. Along the Clifton Park Center Road side of the Locust Lane Park, we used to have a lot of nice shade trees, and they've gradually died off over the years, similar to what happened along Bishop Ferry Road at the Commons. So those trees, they were really nice. They're being cut down now because they've been diseased and they're dying. I'd like to see some more trees planted in some of the parks too, especially there. We walk our dogs through the Locust Lane Park and we cross over into the campus and we go over the Commons with them. And in the morning when the sun's coming up, the sun is just like right in the driver's faces. We can hit the crosswalk buttons there to cross, and those are great. I love them. That was such a great addition. But people can't see with that sun in their eyes. And we've had many times where we've had to stop short and just miss getting hit. We've actually had people yell at us for crossing the road after we pressed the button there. So I think some trees in some of the parks would be very nice and very helpful to replace what used to be there. In the Barney Road playground area, we've got the pool there, we've got the maintenance facility there, we've got some commercial uses in that building with some, I'll call it older vehicles and some materials being stored there. Not the greatest look for our neighborhood. It'd be great if there were some potential screening options that we could explore over there. One would be clean up some of that commercial, mess that's there. But also some screening maybe to help, shield the playground area from those commercial uses and from the maintenance yard that's there. I think that would be a nice benefit to the neighborhood. The dog weigh stations that were brought up, I think that's a great idea. Personally, that would be helpful for us, walking our dogs through the neighborhood all the time. And then, I know Mr. Clemens' team is, very busy with all these park districts and all the other town properties that you're taking care of. In general, I think you guys are doing a great job in our neighborhood. I really like all the effort that's there. And like I said, we built relationships with some of the staff over the years. I do notice, like, along the entrance to our neighborhood at Beechwood, there's some plantings, shrubs and things like that in that area that could use a little help. There's some vines growing up that are choking those out. Some of the crabapple trees that are there could use some pruning. Just those are some other ideas for maybe some of the, the money to be spent on those types of things. And I think that covers everything I had on my list. So really appreciate all the, the honesty and the open forum here for us. Thank you.
Do you think that a silt trap would help? When Bear Brook was getting all the silt, when they were building Maxwell Road, the town had a silt trap put, and the highway department was emptying the silt out. So instead of it going all the way down Bear Brook and killing the fish, maybe they need something like that.
I'm a civil engineer, and I would say yes. The silt traps would definitely help. Like I said, that one pond is basically a sediment now. So, but you got to deal with it not at that location. You have to deal with it upstream, and have several different features along that stream.
And have it dredged also.
Right, and regular maintenance on those features. Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everybody.
Just in terms of things like silt and the rest, one of the concerns I have in our area is the invasive species that are moving in, and the fact that in some places the park people have cleared right to the edge of the water courses. And this is, of course, not good procedure for reducing silt. I mean, in many places, you'll find the recommendations are that you have about a 10-foot buffer with natural growth. And I think that that's something we need to think about, is where we're going to intensify and where we're going to let natural growth reduce silt into the ponds and into the waterways. I know your son talks about the swamp, but that's partly due to silting. It's also sometimes due to the Vigrates reeds that are growing all over the place now, and some of the other invasives that we've got. When we talk about perennials, I think it's important to recognize that some perennials are actually invasive weeds, and they get loose and can move into the neighborhood. So I think an advisory board, if we could come out of this with a recommendation to set up an advisory board, that then you would have some sort of mechanism for people to sign up. I'd be happy to work on invasive weeds and on maintaining the natural spaces as much as we can, because I agree with you. Not everything should be parked. Some of the pleasures of childhood are actually going into places which are swamps, and discovering the things that bloom early in the season, the rest of it. But we need to think about that so that we have a mix of landscapes that we're supporting, with the long-term notion of reducing silt, reducing invasives, increasing sort of diversity, the natural diversity of the area. So that's the most long-term and best situation for things like climate change as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. And so again, appreciate everyone that wants to volunteer. You're all more than welcome. We're certainly not going to turn away volunteers. And it sounds like there's already been a group that's starting to form. We shared the email address. I think everyone should communicate and collaborate together, and we can form different subcommittees and take on different tasks that suit your interests and expertise. And again, there haven't been meetings for this park district in a long time. They can certainly, there's no reason for them not to start up again. Many parks districts have their monthly meeting right here in this room, and there's no reason that this neighborhood couldn't do the same thing. We have plenty of open dates on our town calendar, and one of them can be for this specific park district to meet and have conversations like this amongst yourselves every month. And then again, you're not going to have the town board and town staff at those meetings, but someone in that committee can volunteer to be the point person to reach out and email Phil or myself, Dan Clemens, with their suggestions and any future questions. So
out on the counter, there's, from Cornell Cooperative Extension, I believe, trees and shrubs packets that they're selling for you to plant along the sides of streams. And, the tree committee's going to be having, trees that you can pick up if you order them for Arbor Day.
Yes, we give out, tree seedlings for saplings for Arbor Day every year. I believe you have to sign up because they only get a limited number. And they also, I think, have a initiative this year to tackle invasive species. So that will be shared on
They're
our
starting
Facebook.
out with bittersweet, I believe, because that vine is so invasive.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you're interested, maybe reach out to our tree committee as well and get some more information on how you can take that initiative into your parks district. Supervisor Barrett?
Yeah, I just want to ask Dan Clemens if he could get our stormwater technician over to that swamp.
I noticed this
It's
smell. I noticed that same smell over on the smaller ponds where Barney turned into Beechwood right there. That smaller pond right there is having a smell as well.
Is it at different times of the year, or is it consistent?
It's the first time that I've noticed it.
Yeah. Okay. There are times of the year where it might be more organic matter than others.
Yeah, and when the
But,
water level is low, you smell the mud if the water level is low. But yeah, there's decaying matter in there.
Yeah. Yeah, we can have our stormwater technician look at the swamp there. But and as I'm sure you know, as a civil engineer, DEC challenging to work with, and there's been many occasions where we did want to do some dredging, do some more involved maintenance of drainage areas, which I wouldn't consider this a drainage area, but it's certainly considered a very sensitive wet area by DEC, and they just won't let us do too much. It's very frustrating, but we will take a look at that. The other point really has nothing to do with what's been talked about, but I did want to make a point because a lot of people don't know this. We don't own the parking lot to the pool and the building. So I know I've had inquiries once in a while, why does the town let commercial vehicles park there? Because they think the town owns it. But the town does not own the parking lot. We use what's that?
Who owns it?
The gentleman that owns the building. So we bought the golf course from him. He owned all of it. We bought the golf course many years ago. And I'm glad we did because it kept it preserved, maintained the recreational opportunities in there for many people of all ages. So that I think the golf course has worked out well. But we do rent the garages that were just mentioned. We do rent the bathrooms inside for people that play golf and the leagues that play and everything else. And we also do have a small remuneration for usage of the parking lot. So that's something that we've done from the beginning of owning the course, since there is a convergence of public and private property there. So it's worked out very well. Now, what I have advised the town board that we should build our own building on the course and get away from the garages. So that's something that I've asked Dan to start working on, which he has, so I can get enough information on cost, time frame, DC approvals, so on and so forth, so we can consider moving in that direction. So that was just a point that I wanted to make in case there was some confusion about the parking lot and how that works.
Sir, did you want to speak?
I wanted to bring up one thing. Many people probably know me or have seen me. I'm the guy that's always walking my black dog all over the place. Clifton, Knolls, Town Center Park, Shenandoah, the Oaks, Mull Road, Groves Road. I'm everywhere.
Does your dog wear a jacket?
Pardon?
Does your dog wear a jacket?
Sometimes.
Yeah, I think I've even seen you on a jacket.
And I'm the guy that
That
lives in all the
doggy's wearing
cars
a
in the
coat.
coat. The town does an excellent job with Kids Road Dog Park. It's an excellent place. The only problem I have with, I don't say it's a problem there. The town is generous in providing bags for people for their food. That container sometimes gets spilled really quick. The other thing to mention about it is in late spring, early fall, they have cross-country groups that go in there and essentially take over the trail. So I was up there a couple times. The trails, they just run down, they expect you to get off the trails. I do it, that's not a problem. But when we get down to the area between the fence and the woods, they're laying all over the place and they get upset when you walk the dog through there. And I loop that thing with all the trails 3 or 4 times, so I'm there for like 3 hours. So that's a little problem in the parking bit. I walk all over the place around the ponds, and there's another gentleman that we need some more garbage containers there, especially in the summer. The amount of trash that the fishermen and I see people have campfires along the ponds and whatnot. They just leave junk all over the place. I can only pick up so much. It's really bad. Town Center Park. I wish we could do something about all the people that don't pick up after their dogs, or that do pick up after their dog and then toss their bags into the woods. The other thing I have a question about is they just opened some new trails at the farm in my druthers. I walked it in the middle of the winter, and it was hard to follow the path. They had some little ribbons around some of the bushes and whatnot. Trails were like walking through the jungle. There were vines and stumps all over the place. I don't know if the town is cleaning it up with it. If you're going to have a trail, it should be so these people, especially if you're going to walk some young children, so they don't trip all over the place. I'm very concerned about that. It's nice to have something, but it's nice to have it so it's well maintained and orderly. Because a couple of times I was walking with that, and I wasn't really sure where that would go. I got to an intersection. Am I going left or right?
Where was this?
Town Center Park by Druthers.
Okay.
They instituted 2 or 3 more paths in there, and there's a little sign that gives an idea where it is. But if you're looking at a sign in the woods, the path is over here, you're not really sure where you're going. And like I said, it isn't well marked. I mean, I have a little piece of ribbon, and I mean, like the stuff the 1/4-inch stuff. It's really hard to say.
Yeah.
So I went through and something you can spray red or something along on the other side of the thing to make it a little better and more permanent, rather than trying to mark it with some kind of tape or something. Just kind of come off. So
Yeah, it sounds like a good survey tape.
yeah, so like I said, I'm everywhere with my dogs, and like I said, the town is good with the receptacles. I mean, in the wintertime, they don't have money. But like the other gentleman said, that little park across from the 9th hole on Beechwood, to do something, there's where they park is always full of crap. So the Knolls is getting very, especially in the garbage can. And I wish the town could do something about people that go up there and after the garbage truck provider, there's garbage all over the place. Some of it's the trucks, but some of it's the people pile garbage all over the place. The animals get at it. They spread it all over the place. And there's a house on Pardo Rio. I can't remember the road, but somewhere up towards the end by Bo. And he's got a pile of garbage right there, all for like 3 weeks now.
Yep, it's months at a time. Yep.
So
Stuff in months.
that's my concern.
TVs.
Thank you. Yeah. I think we address. I wish more
Well, you
people.
can, if there's garbage that is left out and it's a public safety issue, I would report that to the code enforcement here at the town. And they'll go out and take a look at it, see what the deal is. So yeah, there is a mechanism for that.
Okay, code enforcement.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody's got household garbage.
Well, I mean,
sitting
you were
out
saying
there.
that on Part Del Rio, they just sold a house. There was a duplex. And a guy had 2 plastic bins, about 3-4 feet long, probably 2 feet square, that sat there. The plows came through and hit it and dumped crap all over the place.
Oh,
And that was there for a couple of months.
oh, okay.
And didn't actually get picked up until a regular, they had a for sale sign on it, but when a regular broker came along there, it got from that.
Yeah, so, yeah, if you see issues involving public safety, garbage, anything of that nature, code enforcement or my office would be the place to go. And they'll check it out. I did want to just mention one thing before we wrap up. You'll be invited to another meeting like this. How about that? We're on a streak. So, I don't know how many folks may have watched the last town board meeting, but a company has come in and they want to put up 2 cell towers on public property. So that's a town board decision on whether that happens or not. But I expressed to the company that we'll consider it because in the 2 locations, the coverage is pretty bad. One location is on the golf course in your neighborhood, and another is off Shadowwood in a town park, Northwood Preserve, that we bought from Round Lake, the village of Round Lake, probably 22 years ago, maybe, somewhere around there. So, so as part of that process, I expressed that it's important that we invite people from those 2 neighborhoods to a meeting, so you can delve into the details a little more than a town board meeting. So it would be a setting like this, and they would give a presentation, answer questions. We talk about the process that would ensue if the town board decided to move forward with a lease on public land. The one at the golf course is at the tee box of 5. Yeah, it's right by the pond and the tee box at hole 5. So that's the general area. If anybody wants to see the plans, you can see those in the planning department as well. But we will, I don't know, John Scavo's not here tonight, but he's coordinating that with the applicant. So any concerns that you have about that, we want to hear it, but we want you to have the details so you can make an informed decision.
You had one of those before in a group of 20 people who had excellent cell service killing because they were worried about the radiation from the tower.
Yeah.
You know, it was all legal, you know, not within 500 feet of anything or whatever it is. And like I said, these 20 people killed the whole deal.
Yeah.
And my cell service is dismal.
Well, yeah, it's bad. It's bad in both locations, and you know, obviously, as a town, we have a pool, we have playgrounds, we have the ponds, the swamps, the golf course. We've got all kinds of public entities there, and it is concerning for us that the cell service is so bad. I know every time I drive, I have an AT&T and a Verizon phone, and neither one works too good in Clifton, Knolls, or in the area where the other location is that they are targeting for a cell tower. So it would be visible. It would be above the tree line. Of course, you know, they'll try to blend it in best they can with a frankenpine or something along those lines. But I know it is a concern for a lot of folks. The town board makes the decision because it's public property. So we can make a very subjective decision. If the town board did decide to lease the property, once it goes through the approval process, concerns about radiation and those things, those are not able to enter the equation per federal law. And it's probably more dangerous to carry these around in my pocket every day than what I'm getting from a cell tower. I don't know. I'm not an expert, but so anyway, you'll be invited to another meeting like this. We're just bringing everybody together as much as possible. No, John Scavo's coordinating that, but well, I mean, we'll certainly get notice. We're not gonna let people know that it's the next night, but.
Just had to do the sign.
Well, sure. Oh, yeah, we would. You need a sign person.
All public hearings are posted in the Times Union, and we do post them on the town webpage and our Facebook page.
And Dan will commit to signs. Dan will do a few things. Right, Dan?
That's right.
All right. I just voluntold him. As we said in the military, you're voluntold. We will have signs. So there you go.
Are you talking about yard waste or when people go and volunteer to pick up the trail?
I guess we've been talking about that.
Yeah.
So I can't remember what day it is.
Yeah, I think there's been discussion about April 18th. I'm not sure if it's confirmed yet.
I think it's in the recreation book.
I'm sorry?
That recreation book you get, I think there's a date in there. I don't remember what it is though.
Yeah, and if there is a group that wants to volunteer and pick up in different areas, and gosh knows in the springtime we find stuff everywhere. We will supply the bags, and if you just leave the bags and let us know that you're doing it, Dan and his guys will come and pick it all up. You don't have to take it home. If you do undertake something like that on your own, just let us know. We'll give you the bags. We'll pick them up when you're done.
Yeah, so the tentative date that we set last year was the 18th. So just keep an eye on the town Facebook page and website for an official announcement, just for any off chance that may have changed.
Councilman Reed?
Yes.
Can we just get on record, the WeDo? I was involved with the purchase of the WeDo, and it's environmental friendly, you'll love it. It runs on vegetable oil. There is an attachment we can get for the silk, but Supervisor Barrett, you're right, DEC is a problem.
Well, we'd have to get
But there is,
permits.
yeah, you'd have to get a permit, but what they have on the WeDo does have an attachment available to take care of what you're talking about with the silt in the pond. And by the way, Mr. Clemens, can we pull those, when you do the bids in the spring, can you pull those stupid moms out, whoever does it, please? We have permission to share. I'm serious, I worked with the gardener, and we could not pull one mom out. And we were just about doing the twister dance, trying to plant everything around an existing mom plant.
I can do whatever I'm voluntold.
Hold the moms, please. Stupid moms.
The other thing that would help the swamp is if everybody agreed to fertilize their lawn one less time. So if you fertilize your lawn 4 times and you only do it 3 times, that will give us fewer weeds in the pond. The reason the pond can look like you can walk across it, and if you've gone across the Stony Brook Reservoir, that's what it looks like in the summer, is because of the runoff from the fertilizers that we put on our lawns. So if we do 1 less fertilizer, we can help.
Yep.
I was gonna say, I had heard that about fertilizer, that it increases the growth of bad stuff. So if you try to plant grass right next to that crummy area, which I think they do try to do, and put fertilizer on it, so that they're cleaning up with it.
What bushes there?
Yeah, I mean, the problem is when you're feeding, you're not only feeding the things that you want to grow, you're feeding all the vegetation.
It runs into the streets, into the sewers,
Yeah.
into the ponds. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that wishes to speak on this matter?
I just
Do you want to come up?
Not really. I just want to second the lady in the white about having things more natural.
Yep.
Just
The Wild West, I believe she put it.
Yes, I prefer it. I like to see the turtles and the things and leave some trees.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, well, I want to thank you all so much for coming and giving your input. I think that this open dialogue was really beneficial, and we've heard a lot of great ideas. We've heard a lot of your concerns. We're going to go through all of the comments made tonight, and as I said, we'll take a look at last year's plan. We will see where some new ideas can fit in, how the plan lined up with the actual concerns of everyone here, and we'll make a new plan for this year. Keep your neighborhood beautiful. Keep it within a reasonable cost for everyone. Keep a surplus so that when you have a larger project, that's something that's feasible. And again, thank you everyone that came. Thank you everyone that expressed your interest in volunteering. It sounds like we have a good beginning, and I hope to see that built upon in the future. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
More now.
We do, so we're trying to.
I'm everywhere.
She